the Babylonians, all them people, the Greeks being in control of territory, then that's the answer for that too. Okay?
Assyrians as well. I just want to
Assyrians as well. Okay. One thing is they had to bring or give a message to the melanated peoples of the earth, specifically us. Well, they don't care. They fooling their own people too. But they had to bring a certain narrative, a certain message. They had to twist things, okay? The message that Christianity preaches is not the message really that's in the Bible. It's all been twisted as far as the message presented, not the scriptures themselves, family. Not the scriptures themselves. The message that's been taught. You know about the slave Bible that had like, I believe, 14 books in there. At first, they didn't want to, print the whole Bible. They just allowed the slaves to read from the 14th, and they told.
I just want to say I'm listening to you. Okay. I just want to let you know I'm very sharp with my history. So
okay.
When you're done, then I'm gonna go.
I'm almost done now. Cause I want to hear your point of view. That's one thing. I'm not one of these people that prescribe to this faith or this walk, and I'm not like visceral like that. You know what I'm saying? I'm willing to listen. Okay. So they had to twist the message, and they had to get us to a point to where we couldn't find our way back. We didn't understand what we were looking at. We were defeated people for a long time, for a hell of a long time. Okay, we didn't understand what we were looking at. Even when we look at the
how long? You give me an estimate on how long?
Hell, let me see. 70 AD. We got ran. A lot of us got ran up out of Jerusalem. Went into the. Sister. She said
before you mention 70 AD, right?
Okay.
Can you prove to me that we're these people from 70 AD, and can you show me that all these people left in 70 AD?
There are older books out there that prove this. I don't have them on hand right now. I don't have them on hand.
Hey, do you know anything that happened in, say, 71 AD?
Or 73?
73? No one enlightened me about that.
Yeah,
all right, so when you're dealing with the whole 70 AD thing, right?
Okay.
That is not. I'll say this, right? I'll say that is not completely true. Where there's some things going on then, yes. Did it have anything to do with us? No. And then that was not the only thing going on, because those people actually stayed and fought and didn't leave till like 73 or 76, and we know exactly where these people went.
Okay.
Some stayed. Some went to the Elephantine Islands.
Okay.
And some are in Yemen.
Okay.
Then you had some who like when you hear about the Sephardic people, Sephardic is like a Latin mixed with it's like a Latin mixed with Middle Eastern, because that's what these people are that left in 70 AD and stuff like that. These are Middle Eastern people. These are Arab type people.
Okay.
So I need you to now show me how we these people, because when you study about what's his name? Father Rabbi, what's his name? Rabbi Ford or something?
Rabbi Matthew?
Yeah, Rabbi Matthew or whatever. That is when African Americans first started to claim that. And it's the first time. Because he had a dream that he was the people in these books. And then,
you know what? I do remember that story a little bit.
And then, so when you had the whole Babylon and Timbuktu book come out, that's when it really flared up. Until brother fact checked it. He found out it was garbage. He came out later, a little later, and admitted that it was incorrect. So, because he tried to say that, hold on. He tried to say that there was a such thing as a kingdom of Judah in West Africa. So we go back, we look at the map, we found out who made the map, and then we come to find out the name had changed a few times, and that it is not Judah, it is actually the kingdom of Weda, or Weda,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
which means house of serpents. This
Okay.
village was actually this kingdom was actually Africans who venerated the snake. So they were snake venerators. There's no Hebrew marking there. There's no Jew marking there. These people did not practice any type of Abrahamism. Later on, it turned into Judah. Well, first it turned into Ayuda, which in Spanish it means help.
Okay.
And that's what that came from a Portuguese man who came there, and he could. Of course, they don't pronounce it the same as us, so it ends up changing into Judah, but it's not referring to the Judah like you think.
Okay.
Or Judea.
Yeah.
Okay. Something like that.
So then we also have information that will show you it was actually Jews who were selling us in the slave trade.
That's true.
And these were not, I'm not talking about Ashkenazi Jews. I'm talking about a Berberish looking people.
Okay.
A hybrid Berber African mixed with a Middle Eastern type looking people. Just like what you have with the Moors, right? Because I'm Fulani. Right. So I know, you know what I'm saying? I'm Fulani. So I know that, you know, for a while we was enslaved underneath the Islamic Arabs and stuff like that.
Okay.
Also, these people that went into Spain, when you hear about the Jew people, they're not referring to it. There's no ethnic group called Jew. There's no such thing.
Right, I know. Yeah.
When you're dealing with, for instance, John Henry Clark, he said it the best. He said, anybody who's claiming a Jew as an ethnic group is just as bad as a person claiming Christian as an ethnic group.
Okay. Talk about it.
So now, I'm trying to see, because a lot of people go. I'm pretty sure, you know, a lot of your brothers got going down into saying Igbos are these people. That's been debunked. Y'all going to saying you're. Hold on. I got you. I'm gonna let you go ahead. I'm about to stop. Okay. They try to say that Yoruba are these people. That's been debunked. They try to say that Fulani. They even try to say Fulani are these people. That's been debunked. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, where do you find plausibility for you being these people in this book? And can you show me that with proof in West Africa, like before any invasion or anything?
Before the invasion of, you talking about
Arabs, before Arabs. No, I'm not talking about something. I'm dealing with West Africa. So I already touched up on the
later on.
No, yeah. That's what I'm saying. So I already touched up on the 70 AD thing. If you still subscribe to the 70 AD thing, by all means, that's you. But now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna play devil's advocate. I'm gonna let you, go ahead, subscribe to that. But now I need you to show me Hebrewism in West Africa prior to an invasion of a people that are not of our people.
Okay, all right, I got you. So it's interesting that now you're saying that all of those tribes, even the documentaries of the Limba tribes and all those guys, and also these people over there were practicing circumcision and certain customs, certain Hebrew customs they were practicing. We know we call it Hebrew.
It wasn't Hebrew customs, but I know what you mean. I know what you're referring to.
So that's not what they were subscribing to. They were doing something else. That was
the Limba people they've been exposed. They were actually doing that for political reasons, just like you see the Igbos doing it. Because they took their DNA. Their DNA is West to Central African. They didn't have no dealings with that. I often also heard somebody say Zulus. That would be nearly damn near impossible. Those people are into chromancy and all types of stuff.
Yeah, the Zulu thing, I really didn't buy that too much. So,
Yeah. Plus, that's not even. I mean, they're West African as far as being on the west side of Africa, but they're South Africans. So
right.
We don't have anything to do with them.
So, all right. So you were trying to find out for me, why do I prescribe to this thing? Pretty much, right? Why do I follow this path? Okay.
If I ask that, that's really more so a personal question, and that's kind of like where I want to take it to, because I want to see. I want to try to understand. I want to try to understand you.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. That's fair enough. You know, didn't know you was trying to earlier, but you know how you was coming across. But you know, it's all good. You know, that's water under the bridge, right? So, the reason, you know, it appears to me, and it seems to me, you guys are very well studied on a lot of historical matters. I may not be as well studied as you all concerning.
Oh, we can break bread, brother. It's no problem. We can always break bread.
Because I'm not gonna pretend to know something I don't. I just bring out what I know. But if I don't know it, you know, I'll state it. You know, I'll state it.
I respect that. Same with me. If I don't know something, I go seek it. And then if I still don't know after I seek, then I be patient, and you know, it'll come to me.
Okay. Well, you know, as far as a person, I do want to hear Sister's point of view too. I'm really interested because she said she was going down this path and then she pulled back and changed direction. I really want to hear her point of view on that, why she did that. But you know,
okay, we're gonna let it shift that way. Then I digress. Go ahead, sis. I'm gonna go on mute.
What would you like to know?
All right. When you first started out, you were, I won't say thoroughly convinced. I don't know how far you were or how deep you got into this. I don't want to just call it a movement, more of an awakening. Mm-hmm. You were, you know, were you pretty far into it, or were you kind of just?
I was about, I would say like 7-8 years into it. So I was there for a while.
Okay. Were you part of any camps, or were you part of like the IUIC brothers, or a lot of those guys, a lot of alphabet camps?
So for the first 7 years, I was just doing my own thing. I had various teachers. I had Messianic teachers, just Torah only teachers. So most of the stuff I learned on my own. But then I met a brother, and he was in the ISUPK. So I entered the ISUPK on his behalf.
Okay, all right then. Because okay, they're a little different. I really don't prescribe to a lot of what camps, although some things are similar scripturally, but they kind of veer off on some other things.
Yeah, your name is a little bit different than the camps. Who do you refer to the creator as? Olivia! Yeah, who do you refer to as the creator?
Well, we all know languages have got kind of butchered over time, but I call the creator, I'm trying to go back to the original, I call him Yahweh or Yah, you know.
Okay.
And I know you probably already know about all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, and how to name Lord, Baal, how they put 4 letters underneath that and all that. So, you know, I know you probably know all about that stuff. But yeah, it's like when I study the scriptures, right, it's kind of like, to me, it makes like perfect sense while we're going through a lot of what we're going through, how to get out of it, prophecies on how to get out of the situation. It makes a lot of sense. Prophecies about the future. You know, coming back to the commandments, you know, lining back up with the creator, Elohim, you know, back into obedience. And trusting in the Messiah or Hamashiach, you know, however you want to say it, but Yahusha. It makes a lot of sense to me because I haven't seen anything make as much sense since I've started on this path. And now a little bit more will be open up to me, and a little bit more. And y'all can chime in at any time, man. You know, I'm not just going to be talking. Mm-hmm. Y'all can chime in anytime.
Okay. So, let me ask you this. if Pinocchio made sense, should I worship Pinocchio now as my god?
In regards to Pinocchio, I don't think many people would agree that would make sense. Because
Okay, well,
that's like.
Can I ask you? I like that you said that. Can I ask you why it wouldn't make sense?
Well,
what kind of logical methods would you apply to it to say that it doesn't make sense? And I agree with you that it doesn't make sense, and I'm pretty sure the sister does too. But I just want to know.
Well, Pinocchio, as we can all attest to, and we can look up information or something, who created that character, who created the cartoon. It was originally created from a book, a writer. It was a book in a book, and then ported over to a show. So we know that's a fictional character, okay? I know you're trying to go somewhere with it. I already know. But we know that I enjoyed this. I enjoyed dialogue. I'm not one of them rules or people that's in faith that's gonna just be like, oh, F you, and that's not me, okay? That's just not me. But it can be proven that, the original source of where Pinocchio came from, but of course he was made from a man, so that can be proven beyond a reasonable doubt. And we know that's a fictional character. That's undisputable,
Okay, so since you mentioned that, right now, when you start to study this whole biblical thing, you see that people weren't speaking about this. I'm gonna just say Jesus because all you brothers say a different name. But you see that they wasn't talking about him until like 30 or 40 something years after. So, and there's no proof that he existed. Even when you look into the whole Roman records and different things like that, you see that there was no such thing as a man named Jesus who was hung on a cross. Did they do cross hangings? Yeah, they did cross hangings. They did. Mm-hmm. But there was no man named Jesus that was hung on the cross or anything. But you do see that there was a man. I think his name was Tabi or something like that, and he was actually going around saying that he was the reincarnated prophet of Moses and all this.
He was off. He was off.
So, but you don't see no record of this Jesus person, except when it comes to religious things. Of course, they would try to say they would try to put him in there, but when you look at the actual records, he's not in there. So, and then we don't have a body for him.
Right.
We have no way to validate that this man existed. There's no proof that he left behind. So how do you go about convincing yourself that he existed in your mind?
Interesting question. Okay, where do I begin? Like I said, in regards to that, all I can do is testify of my own experiences, and also, what about the records of Josephus? Have you guys kind of looked at them? And that's dealing with
those have been proven to be forgeries. Most of it is
Josephus?
Most of it is just copied out of the New Testament, and the stuff that he was saying there. Like, for instance, like you got so-called accounts and people be like, "Oh, I seen him walking," or "I seen him brush his teeth," or something crazy. Nah, that stuff is not validated. Anybody could just say anything. There's no concrete proof that runs concurrent with the text that talks about him.
Right.
So, and then plus the whole thing about Josephus, they say he was a traitor and all types of.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he definitely was. But so you're saying there are no historical records of the Messiah at all?
There's zero.
Messiah of Israel, not the
now
white.
You do see records of other people who was named yet. What the people don't even call him Jesus. The people call him Yesu.
Yeah.
So you do see records of different Jesuses, like Jesus Ben Pandera and stuff like that, and all these other people. But you do not see no record of a Jesus Christ. You don't see any record. You don't see no record of a man doing any of the things he talked about. You don't see any concrete proof. You don't see any forensic proof. No body parts. No anything.
Okay. All right then. I respect that. My question to you is, okay, you say that. What are you guys' thoughts, you and sister, even another brother that's on? I know they listening too. Your thoughts on, because I know you made an interesting statement. One of you guys did earlier. You said that the whole book is false, and I'm like, no, the whole book. That's a
Well,
whole
we
lot
can't cherry pick what's true and what's not. If some parts are not true, then the whole thing is not true, and the whole thing needs to be thrown out because it's not ours. It doesn't belong to us.
And then I'll say this, right?
Okay.
It mentions. Let me say this. How can I put this? So it mentions real people such as the Kemeteu or the Remech, which you know as the Egyptian, which they never called themselves Egyptian. They was Kemeteu or the Remech people. They mentioned that name. I hear people saying, "Oh, what about Cyrus, the Persian, and all of these other things?" So that stuff is mentioned, but I have a very good reason for why this stuff like that is mentioned. Do you know what the Greek Septuagint is?
Yes, I haven't gone through all of it, but I'm familiar with it. Yeah.
So you understand that that's the oldest, if you want to call it a copy, that they have to this day.
Yeah.
Okay. So you know about the double XL.
Yeah, the XXL. I looked at it a little bit. Yeah, it's like the Greek lexicon. The lexicon. But go ahead and enlighten me on that a little bit. I'll tell you about.
Right. So that's the oldest copy that they have.
Right.
Right. So this is written. This is written during a time in which the Greeks is running that whole area. So the Greeks took over Kemet. They took over that whole part in what you call Judea, which I'm gonna still call it Canaan, because that's what the Remech people call it, Canaan or whatever the case may be, Palestine and all of that. So the funny thing is prior to that, you don't hear you don't hear about this stuff. You don't hear about people really following and subscribing to Abrahamism. But now I'll say this: you do have the way it developed, right? The fact that it's different things that they borrow from different civilizations, such as Babylon, Sumer, Kemet. Some took them from Hinduism, Zoroastrianism, Orphism, all of these different things, and you can see it all throughout in the text. Even I'll put you on this. Even when you're dealing with your what do y'all call it? A Shabbat? What do y'all call it?
The Sabbath.
Sabbath. There we go. Yeah, the Sabbath. The Sabbath. The thing that y'all follow. The Sabbath thing is actually Babylonian.
So the 7th day of rest is bad from Babylon.
Babylonian. The 7 days a week is Babylonian.
I got an answer for that, but keep going. I'm listening.
I'm done now. I want to hear you.
Well, it's in regards to the Sabbath, well, we got, and I know y'all want a lot of proof, hard copy. I don't have all that right now, okay? All right. But there is a reason why I follow what I follow, and there is a reason why, in regards to the Sabbath and why things were changed. We're powerful people, man. We're powerful people. Even no matter what you prescribe to, we're a powerful people. We're spiritual people. That's a fact, And one thing is, I know that our enemies, and unfortunately, a lot of turncoat, so-called Negroes, Black folks, African, they side with our enemies against the nation as a whole, and our nations as a whole. So, just ask why would they hide stuff in the Vatican? Why would they go through all this trouble? Well, My question is, why would they go through all this trouble to change all the names to sound more European? Why would they, why would they go through all of this trouble to do all of these things?
In regards to the claim you made about, because I'm pretty sure you're referring to the transatlantic slave trade when you said that people sold us.
Yeah, that not only done, it was in also Book of Maccabees, dealing with Alexander the Great's time, but they called him, Macedonian, Alexander of Macedonia, and even a lot of our people.
You're talking about, are you, so I heard of this before, you're referring to Maccabees 3?
Yeah, I believe so. I gotta look at
people, when they talked about the people that they went and that they would sell themselves.
Yeah, they wanted to. They
actually, I'm just gonna let you. If you're subscribing to that, then you agreeing with me that we knock these people because those people, we know exactly where those people went. Those people went to the Elephantine Islands.
Okay.
So but I mean, with that, I'm not really worried about that. I was saying, in regards to the statement you made about West Africa, because you're talking about West Africa because you said when the people sold us and stuff like that. So
and Congo and stuff like that, we were,
Yeah, West Africa, West and Central Africa. Yeah. I got you.
Okay.
So in these places, right? Mm-hmm. I'm actually, because have you ever studied West Africa in depth?
Not in depth, no. I'll be honest, no.
That's a problem.
So when we talk about the slave trade, right? This is the thing. I hear brothers oftentimes they say, "Oh, they sold us." The truth is that it wasn't just a clean cut thing like that. Right. And when it comes to us as Western Central Sub-Saharan Africans in the slave trade, we actually we weren't getting along. There was a lot of beef between tribes. Right. So it was we were selling each other. Also, when you had the Europeans or the Portuguese first come to what we know as Ghana, the Ghanaian king they weren't for it at first. And then things occurred, and then eventually they got into the whole trading resources for people and different things like that because they upped the ante on the trade. They wanted more stuff. So and then you can read into it. It talks about how the king or the chief didn't even think that they were selling them into bondage. But more so just to be a temporary servant to help the people build and whatnot. But then I'm gonna keep it real. You had those of us that was selling each other. Yeah, be selling each other to make a profit. I'm gonna keep it real.
Right.
I'm not gonna sugarcoat about what's
Fulani selling Mandinka, Mandinka selling Fulani.
And then you see
same wars that we're facing today.
I gotta sing this because I can't remember it verbatim, but it talks about it expresses how Jews sold us. Then it expresses how you had the Moors that came in there and they were also selling us because these were Berber, Fulani, and Arab people who were selling us. So I'm saying when we talk about the transatlantic slave trade, we have to make sure that we study Africa in depth, and we have to study Africa prior to the slave trade, not just study West Africa dealing with the slave trade, but we have to study it years and thousands of years prior to that so that we understand what exactly took place when we're talking about it, so that we make sure we keep it in correct context. Also, you want to give yourself the chance, right? You want to give yourself the chance to even disprove yourself in thinking that you're the people that you think that you are, because who knows? I'm not going to say yes, get out of there. You're a grown brother, but at least give yourself the chance to see if what you believe just might be wrong.
Right. Right. You have to step back and not be biased. You know what I mean? Okay. Take a step back and not be so biased coming from one standpoint or another.
Like, for instance, right? They the whole term Hebrews to Negroes, right?
I'm familiar with the rundown.
Yeah, but I'm not really referring to him. I'm just referring to the saying, because I hear a lot of brothers say this a lot. when brothers say that it's quite remedial, Negro is something that Latin people, when you're dealing with, so Latin is just referring to a person from Southern Europe, right? So Portuguese, Spaniards, and all of those different people.
Mm-hmm.
When they called us Negroes, they weren't separating people from being African. This is how they referred to the people, as Negro, black. Yeah. They identify us by the way that we look. Even when you're dealing with the Moors who were in Spain, they call them More or Moris.
Yeah.
Or Moreno. This stuff means it means a burned person or a darkened complexion type person or a black person.
Right. Mm-hmm.
They even call Arabs this because there's dark Arabs, so they were calling Arabs this as well. So when you're dealing with that, it's not saying that we're not African, but when they had us within their grasp, they started to refer us as just black people, meaning they were taking us away from. They weren't identifying us by the tribe that we were. They were identifying us by the way that we look.
Right.
So Hebrew and Negro has nothing to do with each other. I mean, that's simple. That's like first grade type stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like it just means black. That's all it means.
Okay, so those two terms, in regards to this movement, this awakening, those two terms have nothing to do with each other. That's what you're saying?
Hebrew and Negro, yeah, they have nothing to do with each other.
Well, I know the term Hebrew means those that came from, I believe, across the river or from over there. You know, I do know that.
Hebrew, and it is really a corruption of Habiru.
Habiru, yeah.
Yeah, Habiru is actually people who come from the Mesopotamian area, and like Sumer and different things like this. But this was not a good term. This was just a term that meant a wanderer, a nomad,
right? A wanderer.
It's also denoting a person who is a thief, who is an outlaw. Right. It's the Habiru, Hebrew, and Arab literally means like the same thing. Arab means a person who is a wanderer. These people were your ancient gangsters. These was gangsters. They went around ransacking stuff, stealing stuff. They didn't even have a writing system. These people didn't even have a language. These people, when they ran down into the area that we call Canaan and stuff like that, that's when you start to see these them develop a language and different things like that. But these people was like they were desert gangsters.
Interesting. So, because I already know about the term Hebrew, it was a corruption, but you're saying that the Hebrew or the descendants of Eber, they would just they didn't even have a writing system? You sure about that?
Eber and Habiru don't have nothing. Yeah, Eber or Ibri and Habiru, they don't have nothing to do with each other.
So Habiru is that comes before the term Eber that we're given then.
Yeah, there was always people who were known as wanderers in the Middle East. People with no home, a nomad. Okay,
because a lot of us we say we come from that lineage. You know that, right?
Well, that's what y'all say. That's why that's why we're talking now. That's why we're on the phone. We're trying to enlighten you on some things because when you're dealing with these people, even when you're dealing with these people genetically, they have no relation to us. These people are like swervy skin, long beard, long hair type people. This would be the closest to this is the Yemenite or your modern day Arab. These are these people.
Right. The Sephardic.
Okay. Interesting. I have some theories, but I don't know. I got some theories though, why things happen the way, why things took place, or why things are the way they are now. And I guess one of my theories
even when you're dealing with Kemet, right? When you study about the Hyksos, the Hyksos were people that came into Kemet and they took over Kemet. They enslaved these people in their own land.
Okay.
This is why you had the Pharaoh Amos go and he slaughtered the people.
They took over a city, bro.
Yeah.
They took over one city.
Right.
That's it.
No. I'm not saying that they didn't take over just one city, but I'm saying I was just trying to give him a little reference real quick.
Yeah. Bases. I get it.
Yeah. So This when you had these people come and kick them out. These was thugs, brother. These was gangsters. This is what these people did.
Said it was thugs. Well, that's not too far from the narrative. Well, I ain't say too far from the narrative. Whether it was righteousness, acting in righteousness or not, that's a different topic. Or whether we agree on it, that's a different topic. But we know that the biblical narrative and the stories where Joseph or Yahshua, not Joseph, but Joshua. We know they was going in slaughtering. Moses was going in. They was conquering. But that depends on if you prescribe to that or not. I'm gonna do some more studying pertaining to the subject matter. I'm definitely gonna do that, and that's what I was gonna ask sis before the night was out. I'm like, you point me in a direction where I can look at some of this stuff, and I'll check it out. I'm always for learning. Always. Always for learning, like to compare documents, and see. Because one thing I know is this, fam. One thing I know is this is that our enemies. And I am going to go off of one of the scriptures, and I believe it was in Psalms, how David was talking about how the nations are confederate against the Creator's people. Now, that's another thing that I look at, and that makes sense to me, is because if you have an extremely powerful people on the earth that's able to govern and rule over all the other nations, they have their own areas, of course, right? But if you have an extremely powerful people that can't be flexed with on any level unless they, let's say, break the commandments or fall into idolatry, then if you're the enemies of those people, wouldn't you try to do
Psalm 75, God will judge the uprightly.
Yeah, right, exactly. Judge upright, and even Psalm 75, and also, no, it was Psalms, it was another chapter, but I'll pull it up later. I'm using the phone now, but it was, David was talking about how the nations are confederate. So they joined forces against the original ones, where the one melanated peoples.
This is my thing, against, right? God is the one that's saying He's the one doing all of this.
Yeah, he knows. Definitely. Well, the one thing, yeah. I know you can't really get around that one, right? And that's when we're talking
a problem,
about early today,
right?
That's the issue, right? Okay, that's the issue. Well, also you have to look at You also have to look at this. Yes, he knows what's going on. Yes, he orchestrates things, right? But what if he's just trying to? No, that's what I'm gonna say. Not what if you.
What if he's just trying to what?
He's trying to make it logical, brother.
Right.
No. I know where y'all gonna go. I know where to go.
Because you a logical person, and that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna make it logical, because this is ridiculous. You making statements like, "I kill, I heal, I do all these things. It's me. I'm the one. Satan comes to me for authority." So that means it's also you that's killing my brothers, killing my sisters, making them get raped, and all this other stuff. And I'm not cool with that, because the only person I see doing that is the colonizer.
Okay.
And that's,
I see your point.
That's facts.
I see your point. I definitely see your point,
We're not about to sit here and wait for the Anunnakis to come out the sky and chariots to come out the sky, because the Anunnakis is just as bad as Jesus and God. They just as bad. Where the fuck is y'all at? You know what I mean? The only people I see around me is us.
But fam, my question is, who built all of this stuff? This ecosystem.
What, nature?
Well, we know how the ecosystem works, and if you I'm scientific, right? I study science. I deal with science. When you compare ancient philosophy or science to modern day science, you see that we have come to the conclusion in knowing that nature is simply nature. It is self-running. So there's no external thing controlling it or steering it.
Okay.
Even when you study and when you're dealing with Africa, the saying is, it is what it is. There isn't something external doing this. This is simply nature, especially when we get into the technology that we have now. We know exactly how the ecosystem works. So if we know how it works, I mean, put it like this. When you didn't know how to tie your shoe, right? I'm pretty sure that you didn't, when you didn't know how to tie your shoe, what did you think about tying your shoe?
You said, when did I ever think about it before I learned how to do it?
Before you learned how to tie your shoe, what did you think about tying your shoe?
I wanted to learn.
Yeah, I actually wanted to learn. Made sense.
Once you know, does your answer change?
Does your answer change? No.
No. Hold on.
What you say? I'm trying to understand what you're saying.
So, when you didn't know how to tie your shoe, or let's put it like this. Let me give a different example. Say your windows are open, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're in your room, and your door shuts out of nowhere. When you were younger, you probably thought something spooky closed the door, right?
Right.
When you get older and your awareness level it's up now, it's raised up. You know that wind is blowing, and then you see that the wind brings pressure to the room. The pressure swings the door closed. Do you still think a ghost did it?
No, because it came from the wind.
My point exactly about nature.
Right, and I prescribe to nature, brother. I don't knock what the systems that are in place.
What I'm saying, the reason why I broke it down like that is because once you know something, you no longer have to. You no longer have to believe that something's doing something. You now know how this works. Thus, if I know how it works, I know what's going on. I no longer have to pour belief into it and say, "Oh, this is doing that. This is doing that. That is causing that." No, this is nature. This is the way the ecosystem works. Now I understand it. I know I'm no longer in a state of ignorance. I am now in a state of knowing.
Okay, I respect that. I respect your viewpoint on that. The only issue I have with I guess, the only issue I have with people that say that there's not an intelligence that built all of this, to me personally, right? It's like this chair I'm sitting on right now. It's like saying that thing built itself. We know that's not true, right? So when I look at the ecosystem, I look at how things run in tandem. I look at how bodies operate.
Can I ask you a question real quick? It refers to something you said. You said something intelligent that built it, right?
Yeah, higher intelligence that built all this. Yeah.
Does your God know everything?
He is all knowing. Yes.
Okay, he's all knowing, and it also referenced that he preordained everything before it even came.
Yeah, it was already there in his mind. He already
So if something's intelligent, that means it has the ability to learn. How could he be all knowing and preordain something and still be intelligent, still have to learn something?
Interesting. Trying to see where you exactly. Well, I kind of feel where you're going with it, but does that? I know y'all back there cheering him. I already know, but
No, that was my partner back there. I just came on. No, relax.
Okay, you having fun, the boy back there. Okay.
Yeah. I just came on to ask you: is the chair alive?
The chair is not alive. No.
Okay. All right.
Then you got to go into what gave everybody life. Then you got to go on.
We understand
exactly.
We understand the process of evolution now. We understand the way humans came about. We understand what oxygen is. We understand the human body. We do not completely have the human brain mapped out, all the way mapped out, or some people are just ignorant as in what aspects or how far we've come to mapping it out, or the rediscovery of mapping it out, because who knows, possibly our ancestors had it mapped out, or like I also like to say, they didn't have to map it out because they knew how to use it. So, and then they demonstrated how they knew how to use it from the things that they built, the things that they created, so on and so forth. So we understand that now. Do we know every single thing? No. Do we have a good gist of things? Yes.
Okay. Okay. What about the soul?
Even dealing with? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm listening. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I said that's fine. We're dealing with this biomechanical machine. I know, this is what we are. But there's something that even powers that. Of course, we could say that's just the heart that's pumping blood, or that's just our blood that carries oxygen. It's all a system, right? But what about the soul and the spirit of a person? What about the spirit?
Well, the spirit. When you're dealing with, all right, so let's deal with it from a colloquial sense. So modern day sense, right? Spirit in a colloquial sense is dealing with the character of a person. We attribute that to character. Like your spirit, you have a good spirit. Basically, you have a good character. You carry yourself well. But if you're dealing with it in an etymological sense, spirit, spira, it means wind, breath, air. So when you hear spirit, for instance, your respiratory system, it is a system within the body that allows you to keep breathing. It literally, respiratory system literally means to breathe again, or to breathe over and over again.
Right.
So there's a system within our biological structure that allows us to breathe over and over and over and over.
Okay.
So we no longer have to stretch out and say, yo, how am I staying alive? We know it's about air. We know it's about blood. We know it's about if you're dealing with the heart, right? So if the heart goes out, the person is done. So we understand the process of the brain, the chemicals that the brain release. We understand the nervous system. We understand the cognitive ability of a person, these different things like that. So we no longer in a state of ignorance as to how we are maintaining life on the planet.
Okay. Well, does that describe the mind? Because mind is spirit too.
It depends, and I like that we're doing this because I majored in psychology. So when you're dealing with the mind, right, you're dealing with awareness. You're not just dealing with awareness. So you're not just dealing with consciousness, but you're dealing with subconsciousness as well. I'm not going to get into the whole subconscious thing right now, but when you're dealing with consciousness just means awareness, right? The ability to be in the know of something, to recognize something. It's also felt through our senses. You know what I'm saying? Sight, touch, smell, hearing, all of these different things, which allows us to send messages back to the brain through what we call receptors, and allows us to interpret what we see, what we feel, what we touch, so on and so forth. So we understand what dealing with the mind, what consciousness is. It's not something spooked out. It's not something supernatural. It's natural. All right. We also have, that's when you go into, you're dealing with stimulus, photosynthesis, so on and so forth. All of those different things attribute to consciousness.
Okay. Because the reason I asked that question, right, brother? I asked that question because, a lot of people confuse the mind with being the brain, but the brain is not the mind. It's connected, but it's not that actual thing itself.
Well, this is the thing, right? So when you're dealing with the twist on the mind and the brain, we know we know that in essence, I'm going to deal with this. In essence, we perceive brain. We perceive a brain.
Right.
We understand the brain is something physical. We know that. Mm-hmm. However, it is necessary. It is a part of us that is necessary. Being in a physical state as a tool that we use to navigate through our life. So, as well as other tools as well. But nonetheless, mind. If you say that there's a mind outside of this, I mean that.
What powers the body besides just our system moving itself? Because I can argue that, or not argue, but I can make the point that let's take a vehicle for example, right? You know, the vehicle.
Now, you do know a vehicle is not alive.
I know, but the methodology still applies. The ideology still applies because we run vehicles.
We made the vehicle, so the vehicle is a straight, solid metal type thing. So, I see the comparison you're making, but when you attribute that, when you compare it as far as life, there's not no comparison.
Okay. Because I was going to say that we get inside and we're a foreign entity that gets inside of the vehicle and we control the vehicle. We're not naturally a part of the vehicle. That's why I ask you about the mind and the spirit. If all we are, brother, is just processes, natural process. If there's nothing super behind it or spiritual behind it, bruh, what else is there to life? What is there? What are we here for?
So you subscribe to having a purpose?
Of course, not just a purpose. Yes, I subscribe to having a purpose, and everybody has a purpose.
What is purpose?
My purpose may be different from your purpose. I kind of already know what my purpose is.
No, I don't subscribe to having a purpose. I'll tell anybody all day long I don't have a purpose.
Oh, okay, all right, all right. Well, hey, now I know, but I do, and purpose, I don't want to get too philosophical with it. Some people feel that they're here for a higher purpose, to educate people, to teach, to help humanity in some way, shape, or form. They're driven to do it, but that's dealing more so with the spiritual aspects of things, I think, and it bleeds over to the natural. It's just hard for me.
So what happens? So what happens if you don't fulfill your purpose?
Well, the goal is to fulfill it. Hopefully, that's my goal. Will I do it?
If you don't fulfill the purpose, then what was the purpose?
Well, there are people that haven't fulfilled their purpose afterwards.
So this is the thing. If you subscribe to a purpose, right, that will also mean that you would have to subscribe to a God, and not just a God, but a God that knew already and that planned it out. Correct?
You said I'll have to subscribe to a God or a higher power, right?
Yeah, a God that that made all this, and that planned all this, and that is all knowing, like we emphasized earlier.
Yeah, that's me, bro. I'm not, knocking what y'all doing, but it's hard for me to just remove everything spiritual from this and just say we're on this planet, we're just existing. That's one thing that's extremely difficult for me to. I can't really come to grips with that.
Well, if you're saying just exist, do you have any desires in life?
Of course, we all do.
Right.
Of course I do.
It's not gonna to say somebody is just existing here. That would be something personal. Like that would be like somebody just going to an island and just being stranded on an island by themselves and purposely doing that, and just doing nothing and just, I guess, hold their breath until they die. That would be that type of person, in the extreme sense in what you're saying. But in the sense of you have a desire. So I want to ask you a question. Do you
Okay.
perhaps think that what you desire, that you could be misinterpreting desire, or you could be misinterpreting desire for purpose?
Well, some things I may desire that may not line. Well, I ain't gonna say it doesn't line up with my purpose. There are things that I desire, like every person, you know.
Wait. Before you continue, it sounded like you was about to say something else because you said if your desire doesn't align with, let's take you for instance, right? So what you subscribe to, so you were basically saying if it doesn't align with what you believe.
Interesting. I'm gonna tell you outright what I do prescribe to and believe. Okay. Well, as far as purpose goes, just purpose. Then I get to desires right after that. Okay.
But I want you to answer my question first because I want to show you something real quick. That's why.
Okay. Okay. You said does my desires and my purpose align?
So I was saying you were about to say something else other than purpose because you said if your desire doesn't align with, and then you kind of hesitated, and then it sounded like you was about to say something else, and then you said purpose. So what I wanted to ask is, were you about to refer to how your desire does not the fact that your purpose is in contrast to your belief?
Okay. You know what? I got you. My desires, right? My desires may be off. You know, I may desire. You know, I'll tell you like this: human desire or my desire, I may want things that I'm not supposed to have. Okay. Do I want things? And this goes back to, you know, dealing with the flesh. I know sis. I don't know how many of you guys were.
You're kind of drifting into a right and wrong kind of conversation.
Well, that's what it all really, you know, boils down to for me anyway. There are some things I may desire that I don't need, that I have to kill that desire. But my purpose, though.
So then you would automatically, you were after this conversation, we would shortly be drifting into a conversation about how we are bound to what you believe, the thing that you believe that created us, that we are bound to it, and that we shouldn't have any desires, but we should just live out what this thing told us to do.
Well,
without any
according to God's desires.
It would kind of drift into an illogical sense of why this thing that you believe in would give us quote unquote free will.
Free will, yeah. Well, what I prescribe to in that sense is that it's not beneficial. To me, it's not beneficial for us to desire things that harm us or things that will bring us harm or making unwise choices or decisions. We shouldn't desire those things, but sometimes we do, you know. And sometimes I do. That's why I have to kill that.
Can I ask you a question?
And line up with, you know, the Creator's purpose for me. That's the whole thing. Go ahead, brother.
I want to ask you. So, can a human? What's the problem with a human living a good life and not believing in your God? And can a person not believe in your God and live a good life?
Can a person not believe and live a good life? Well, they can probably live a good life, but you know, and then you go back to morality and the moral compass.
Okay, that's what I meant. So, can a person be morally sound without your God?
I'm gonna say no, and the reason I'm gonna say no is because I trust that the Creator puts that ability in everybody on the planet, in everybody that exists on the planet. So it's like
you're saying that a person cannot live morally sound without your God. And can a person be? Wait. I kind of want to add something to it. So okay. Can a person live morally sound without your God? And can a person be morally incorrect with your God?
Yes, on both.
So a person can live morally correct without your God, and a person can be morally incorrect with your God.
Well, I'm sorry. The second question, yes, she could be morally incorrect. That's dealing with disobedience. The first thing is like, no, to me, no, because he puts that in all of us, that ability. Even though we've never, even if you
No. So you say, when you say no, so hold on. In reference to the person that, when I asked, can a person live morally correct without your God? You said yes, no, not. You said yes at first. Now you're saying no, and it sounds like you're saying no because you said he already put it in them. So are you referring to the fact that he put it in them to seek after your specific God?
No, he put it in them to live a correct and moral life.
But so that's what I'm asking you. Can a person live morally correct without your God?
I don't think so. No.
Okay, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Did God give humans free will?
Yes.
Okay, then why did he give them commandments?
No. Let me simplify the question.
Okay.
Can a God that is all knowing and preordained something, can that coexist with a person having free will? Can that logically coexist?
That's a question that that's answer. The answer is extended. Has to be extended for that question. It's not a simple answer. It's not a simple answer because as far as the commandments go, I look at the commandments, or as you guys probably know, the commandments are for a nation of people, a code of conduct for them to live by. Not just the code of conduct. You know, you have sacrificial laws and ceremonial laws too. But the primary thing is the code of conduct.
So what's free will then?
I mean, we're free to do whatever we want as far as while we're in these bodies, in this life. You can go kill someone, you know. We're free to do anything, but there's always consequences to it. Our goal is to temper that, to govern that. I call it even an unnatural thing. Well, I'm not gonna call it unnatural. It is natural for some people.
So you're saying that they both can logically coexist.
Well, it's a process, my friend. It's a process.
So I want to simplify this more because it is an easy question. I'll say for me, it's very easy.
Okay.
So let's put all this into perspective. Your God is all knowing, right?
Yeah, he knows what's gonna happen. Yes.
He also preordained it before he even, according to y'all, before he spun it into existence. He preordained it.
I think I know where you're going, but yes.
So if he is all knowing, spun it into existence, and gave you free will, but when I asked you, can a person live morally correct without your God? You said no. When I said, can a person live morally incorrect with your God? You said no. You brought it down to disobedience. So if your God already knows everything and planned it out, that would mean technically any bad thing that happens or a person that goes off course, that it was supposed to happen. According to you, this is according to y'all. Logically speaking, according to your doctrine, it means that he planned this person to go this way. So that means if you was to say that a person's desire that is not with your God is conflicting with your God, that would mean that you just disagreed with your God.
Interesting. I see what you're saying. I see it.
just here to make you think, brother. That's all.
I know. I'm not worried. You know, not at all.
You know what I mean?
So when you're dealing with free will, right? So free will is basically the power for somebody to act without a constraint or even without necessity or fate. So there's no fate attached to it. So free will is no fate, meaning what will happen, it is not already concrete, but what will happen is simply where you will go.
But if there's fate attached to it, then what do you call it?
No. There's no fate attached to it.
Okay.
There's no fate attached to free will. So that means that your God. So it says that your God doesn't change. So I'm saying, are you telling me now that your God overrided himself? Because if he overrides himself, that means that he did change. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. When you're on the subject about free will, concerning free will, when I say free will, you know, of course, in this body, in this life, we can do whatever, but it's not prudent for us to do so because there's consequences now.
But then that would mean that your God planned it that way, though. So you can't even complain about it. So like to even be in contrast to it, basically right now to disagree with what I'm saying is to disagree with your God. And it's not saying that because I don't subscribe to this, I don't believe in anything, but I'm plugging myself into the book. I'm taking what's said in the book, and I'm not sugarcoating it. I'm giving it to you. You know, I'm speaking in reference of it bluntly. I'm being blunt about it because your God he's blunt. What he says goes. So I'm dealing with the book, and I'm taking all of these different qualifications and circumstances and attributes, and I'm bringing them together. And what I'm doing is I'm like the brother said, we're trying to make you think. But while I make you think, I have to put you into what I call a strictly logical corner. Meaning, in this corner, there's only one answer to get out of this corner logically. The thing about it is, though, this is the thing.
Okay.
When you in this corner, either you throw away your cognitive dissonance or your ego, either you throw those away, or you don't throw those away, and then you give it an answer which will be clearly understood by the people having a dialogue that the answer is illogical.
Okay.
Due to all of the aspects that we're referring to in the dealing with all the different things that we're referring to in the conversation. So,
well, I got that too. But go ahead.
So with all that being said, can they coexist? And does it even sound logical?
Well, the easiest way, something just came to mind just now about if we truly have free will, but I'm gonna give my example. This is the best way I can answer this, okay? I know where you're trying to kind of go with it, but it's like this. Most of you, if not all of you, probably have children, right?
I don't.
Now, okay, well, you can just pretend that you do, okay? Pretend you have a son or daughter. You want the best for your son or daughter, right? You want the best for them. You try to show them a way of life, a proper way of life, a proper way to live, so they can be successful at life as they get older and grow up and leave your house. You know, acting accordingly, abiding by the laws of the land, you know, for the most part, you know, treating people how they want to be treated. But let's say your child steps outside of that and consistently steps outside of the parameters that you're trying to guide them on, which is for their good, okay? It's for their good. They keep stepping outside, you discipline them, punish them, whatever, you know, to teach them not to do that because you care about their well-being in the future, okay? But let's say they grow up, they get out the house, and they do the same thing again, right? When they get out the house, it's not going to be the same. You know, their punishment is going to be way worse because they're dealing with people that don't care. Okay, that's how I view the Creator. That's how I view, as far as I know you asked a free will question, but as in regards to free will,
I'm not angry at the example that you just gave, right? Because I'm used to that. I'm used to that response right there. That's a response that most would give, and that's the only response that a lot of people can give when we're having conversations like this. But the thing about it, there's many things that is off about that response. It doesn't answer the question. Okay, it's natural, right? And it's human. It's natural. It's non-supernatural, right? So we just remember, I'm a natural person. I'm natural.
right?
I don't subscribe to super. I don't subscribe to spooky. I'm natural. Everything is natural. It's just that man cannot understand all of the things in nature. So when you bring your God down to a level, when you bring something that has been perpetuated to be something so great, but have no proof, but it's all of the stories in the Bible have all these great, crazy, amazing stories about this God, how he's ruthless, he'll take your head off, he'll burn you.
But he's loving too.
Hold on, right? So he did all these crazy things.
How?
And you try to bring him down. Then you try to bring him down to a level. True people, parents, right? A parent who cannot preordain, meaning set it into motion, meaning they know exactly where this child is going. There's no human that can do that. You cannot override that individual that you just birthed. Their life's course. Their life's course is within their free will. So. So when you're dealing with, when you try to compare the two, they're non-comparable. It's uneven comparison. But I'm gonna say this, if you're talking to a regular person, if you're talking about day-to-day life and so on and so forth, cool conversation, this lovey-dovey conversation. But we don't want to deal with the lovey-dovey though. I like blunt truth. I like reality.
Oh, okay, I hear you.
So when you try to compare those two, it's just not comparable because of all of the information we have accrued about this God. All of the things that we know about him in this book, from what we've read, and people, saying, "Oh, he'll do this. He'll take your head off. He burnt the city. He freed his people. He split this big sea." And all of these different things that have never been proven. This God's never been proven. Every time you tell people to prove him, they say something like, "Oh, aren't you breathing?" And then you say, "Well, there's 7,000 and hundreds of thousands of other gods that people will say, oh yeah, their God is the reason why you're breathing." The Muslim will say, "This is why we're breathing." The person who practiced Judaism, they say that this is why they breathing. The person who practiced Hebrewism, the person who's in Christianity, Catholic, Seventh-day Adventist, they all say the same thing. And all of our ancestors have waited for these people. All of our people have waited. All of our ancestors have waited for this God to show up. And it never showed up. Never got proven. Never proven. Even by the people who gave us the book, they've never proven it. And they're in a better position to prove it than us. So what I'm saying is, with all that being said, how is your God plausible? How is that something plausible in existence?
I don't want to regurgitate anything, so that's one of those things where I know you asked that question, but in my mind, it doesn't make sense. I know you're asking how is it plausible with, you're bringing a logical approach for what appears to be logic, right? But like I said, things have happened to me that, to me personally, show me, not to you guys, because I know you guys can debunk it all, but I've seen things manifest in my life that I could not explain with outside of the supernatural, outside of the, so that's why, I understand what you're asking, but the things I've experienced is different. It leads me down this course that I'm on right now. You guys may have never experienced anything supernatural in your lives, but
well, something supernatural needs to take place then for our people in these positions that they're in life.
Can I ask you something about experience?
Could it be possibly?
Since you're go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So there's no way possible that any of these supernatural phenomena were contributed by you, or you put yourself in the pathway of these supernatural things you saw. There's no way that you contributed to them. You had to do with them.
Saw happened. Prayer was involved. Talking to the Creator was involved, and that caused things to happen. And I didn't, outside of that, there was nothing physically I did.
So you don't see yourself when talking to the Creator is talking to yourself. You don't see yourself as part of the Creator, as part
of. Of course I do. We're many creators, we're many gods. I
want to deal with percentages real quick, right? So let's say, let's do this right here. Our ancestors prayed, we pray, and nothing happens. We don't pray, and then we do for self physically, and then it happens. Or we pray and still do for self, and then it happens. Is prayer necessary?
You're asking if prayer is necessary if we...
Right, so we say, so I'm going to repeat it, right?
Yeah.
So we pray, and then what we pray for does not transpire. We don't pray, and then we just do for self physically, by force, and then it happens, and then we accomplish it. And then we pray, right? And by our force, we accomplish it. Is prayer necessary, or is it the simple fact that we did it by force?
Well, my perspective on that is different as well. So this is different. It's not like, I know, sis. I know.
Make it make sense. Make it make sense for me, please.
After this conversation, though, brother, listen, we got a whole heap of respect for you, brother. For real.
Yeah, we put you in
a hot brothers seat. Do not listen. And I'm not even really stepping on the gas about this right now. I'm not even stepping on the gas for real.
Yeah, we're not gonna put him on the wall of shame.
Yeah.
Oh
I'm not even
the wall of shame.
Look, I'm not even stepping on the gas with this. I'm just cruising with it because I want us to keep on having dialogue because I want to go through some things in history with you, and I also want to do these logical breakdowns with you more, a lot more times.
Okay.
So now, in the example I just gave, right, in reference to prayer. So I mentioned praying and then nothing happening. So that means that we prayed, right, since we've been here in this transatlantic slave trade, we've been praying to this God that they forced on us, praying and praying and praying and praying. Nothing's ever came through. He's never came to save us. He's never did anything for us. He's never showed up. Ever showed up. After all the beatings. After all the beat. Listen, we're not dealing with all that. We ain't. Listen, remember, I'm not. Listen, listen. You're dealing with a natural brother. I don't deal with wishful thinking and all of that.
Okay, I got you.
Because wishful thinking can get people hurt. Okay. So that means that we pray. Right, and then nothing's ever transpired. No prayers been answered. It just doesn't happen. Now, people might say, "Oh, what about the times when I prayed and it did happen?" Well, I mean, when you're dealing with math, right? If you do something enough, right, over and over and over again, sometimes the dice will just roll, and then that what you think that you got by prayer, it really didn't even come by prayer. It just came by percentage. It just came by if you do this enough. This is going to happen. Eventually, you're going to do something right if you keep doing this. You see what I'm saying?
So when me and my mother prayed,
Matter of fact, you know what I'm gonna do? You know what I'm gonna do? I just got this book and I just finished reading it. It's called by James Allen, As a Man Thinketh, right? So James Allen is the author. James Allen is a European author, but he breaks down how when you speak and when you say things and when you manifest, as you thinketh, so is what you become.
Okay. You know what? There's some truth to that, man.
So I want to.
Exactly.
So in reference, so if we pray and we don't receive it, we never received it. This God never came through. We done been raped. We done been hung. We done been shot in the face. We done been in chains. We done been whipped. I'm talking about beat into our blood, change the color of the ground. So we know the prayer didn't come through, and then we just simply don't pray, and we do by force, and then it occurs for us. It happens for us. We've seen it. We prove that. And then we pray, right? And then we'll also do it by force. And logically, we know with all the sense that we have that it wasn't the prayer, it was simply that we did it by force. But even when we do it by force along with the prayer, we still try to attribute it to this God who never came through, which is thus giving the credit that we deserve to something that ain't do nothing for us. What do you say about prayer? What do we need prayer?
Well,
and I also want to emphasize, because I know, prayer can be seen as different things, but in the Abrahamic sense, we know exactly what it is. Meaning, you come to Him, you seek, He give it to you. That's what He say. You know what I'm saying? If you do this and that, blah 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 blah. So we're gonna keep it at the normal sense of prayer. So, do we still need prayer? Do we need to be praying to this God?
I got an answer for you. Well, I got an answer for you on that. After I say this, though, yes, our people have gone through horrendous things.
Absolutely.
And it's hard for a lot of our people to prescribe, even though we say with this information coming out that he's not white Jesus, he's not that, he doesn't, even with all that, it's kind of difficult.
Listen, when it comes to this subject, brother, when it comes to any subject, it don't matter what color you giving. Listen, you can make him green, purple, black, violet. You can make him burgundy. You can make him pale beige. It don't, you know what I'm saying? So what I'm saying is, do we still pray to this God after every single time we have? And that the simple fact that we've been given this God, we've been given this doctrine, this book by the same people who enslaved us. Do we continue to pray to this God? And I want to mention something that that's something that John Henry Clark said. He said anything that has came into Africa that is not from Africa was not for the benefit of Africans.
Yeah, I guess, brother, it boils down to, and I know you're trying to get a yes or no answer out of me.
And it really doesn't have to be a yes or no answer. Just, you can really, usually I'm not even gonna lie, I'm really taking it. Usually I'd be like, I was straight. I know you want to do it
because you have your viewpoint, I got mine, and I have my reason.
Because I deal with reality, brother. Usually I'd be like, listen, brother, ain't no buck dancing. I want that yes or no answer. But you're respectful, brother, man. You older than me, so
I just render respect where, because I want to treat people how I want to be treated. So, that's all I ask for.
So express to me, how is prayer still plausible? Do we need it? Does it work? That's what I'm thinking by plausible. Does it work?
Do we need it?
Yes. Do we still? If put it like this, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm standing.
Okay.
Let's say, for instance, I'm on like some video game, and there's some video game who can just see every person I've come from since the transatlantic slave trade, since we first got brought over here, right? And I see that first person, let's say that they like the the number 200 down the line behind me, and that's my ancestor. Let's just say her name is Asati or something, you know.
Okay.
And I'm looking at her, and she's praying. She's praying, and she pray every day after the master beat her. After the slave master beat her, she still pray. She let go of her African practices, which would have encouraged her to slaughter the slave master. But instead, since she's been beat so much, she had the fear of God beaten to her. Literally, the fear of this God. Because we don't subscribe to God in Africa. God is a foreign concept when you really study in African practices.
It's just spirituality, right? Spirits and.
I mean,
like that, right?
yeah. I mean, you could call it that. I really deal with cultural concepts, but right. So when you're dealing with when you see that she's praying, she's been praying, and her prayer never gets answered. Let's jump 50 spots up. So we at number 150. This person right here. So I see this ancestor. They praying. In this person, they real deal praying. I'm talking about they kissing white Jesus' feet and all types of stuff. They saying, please, master, don't beat me. I'll obey you. Even if
white
it's
Jesus.
hurt. So they've been praying. Let's jump another 50 spots up. We had a number 100. I know they've been praying. Master spit on him and all types of stuff. I guess the Civil War about to break out, and they want to quote unquote emancipate slavery, so they fight with the white man. And let's jump another 50 spots up. So yeah, number 50. I know they definitely praying. Listen, Christianity, this Bible, Abrahamism has set so deep into the minds of our people that they are trapped in it now. And then let's say we get to a person who is number 15 behind me, right? Let's say this is my great-great-grandmother, beautiful black woman. And she's prayed, and this guy still has an answer, but they tell her, just keep praying, he'll come, he'll do it for you. God will do it for you. God is good all the time. Ain't that what we say? So then we get to me, right? And we're on the phone right now, and I look down the line. All the way up my first ancestor that came here, the woman I came through, first got brought here. And I say, you know what? The ancestor want me to be smart. I gotta look back on everything our people been through, and I gotta be real with myself. No matter if it hurt or not, I gotta be real. I gotta deal with reality of the situation. And I gotta take in reference how prior to that situation, we weren't dealing with that which we were praying to right there. And then I got to take another reference into how successful we were in West and Central Africa, the kingdoms we had and different things like that. Then I got to compare it to that first ancestor that got brought over here, how they beat the mess out of her, how they stripped her of her dignity and everything, brought her down from knowing self to no self at all, not a sense of self. Then we get up here and we see our people, even after released off the plantation, with a personal owned plantation, because now it's corporative. And then we see how we perpetuated it. The slave master no longer had to beat it into us. We perpetuated it ourselves. And I got to look back and I got to say, you know what? I got to let that go for many reasons. Because I wasn't doing that prior to us getting here. When we got here, they beat it into me. And after they beat it with me, I perpetuated it myself. And when I perpetuated it myself, I trapped myself and I manipulated myself. And now I'm looking at it saying, I gotta let this go because this is no good. Only a fool would worship the same God as his slave master, or worship the same thing or follow the same thing as a slave master. Because only a slave master that's a fool would give something that's beneficial or that is telling the truth to those people in which he enslaved. So that brings us to our question, does a prisoner get locked up with the key? No, the prisoner don't get locked up with the key. Prisoner gets locked up with nothing.
True.
Barely his breath if they let him breathe.
Yeah. That's true.
And that prisoner nowadays is probably more than likely praying to Allah or Jesus or the Christian God on his knees. You know what I'm saying? I just had to throw that in there. But, so what do we say about that then, my brother?
All right. I'm going to give you the answer about prayer, and then I'm going to tell you why. And I'm going to try to be as brief as possible, okay?
Right.
And although I give my answer, just, try to refrain from calling me names and all that. If you do it, okay, I don't care.
No, brother. You good.
I know you be going in. you turn up like me. I'm more calm, but I can turn up too. So but yeah, I'm gonna say yes, and this is why. Okay, and I'm a sister back there, skin crawling right now, but it's okay. I ain't heard from her. She still on?
Yeah, she's still there.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, all right. I'm gonna say yes, and also I'm gonna give my reason why. Okay. From what I've been finding out, and since you can attest to this, it seems like that we were told that the God of the Christians is the God of these melanated peoples that came from the northern part of Africa. Okay, it's been that's what we think. That's why a lot of Christians can't dissect and separate the two things. They think, okay.
Before you continue, we know the difference between them. But there's really no difference. It's really the same thing, different name, slight difference in the doctrines and whatnot, and different opinions. But we also know that in West Africa, that Judaism was also brought to us. That was also an act of force.
Okay.
But continue. I'm listening to you. I ain't that over my fault.
No, you're good, brother. You're good. Because there was some information I got to dig it out, but that shows me otherwise on that respect. But okay, that's fine. The Creator God, the Creator Elohim, who I prescribe to, and others like me prescribe to. Not only have we seen things manifested in our lives, and people say it's just thinking positive or self-actualization, self-realization. I don't know about that one, because the Abrahamic God, as long as we were doing what we're supposed to do, conducting ourselves in an appropriate manner, there was no nation that could capture us or hold us, according to the scriptures that I read. Okay, I know y'all don't really prescribe the script, but that's what I kind of got to go off of right now. And my own experiences, personal experiences. There was no nation that could stand against us. Huh?
Actually, subscribe to scripture, brother. I always carry your Bible, so actually subscribe to scripture.
Okay, you're a different one out the bunch then. I got a different mixed bag on here, huh? Okay, I thought I was the only one.
I'm still an intellectual. I subscribe to many factions and many beliefs and many doctrines. I don't just focus on the one.
Okay, because there is some truth in all religions. I do know that too. But one thing I've learned is that when I started peeling back the religion and started seeing it for what it is, I'm like, no one could stand against us as a people. No one could. As long as we, did what we were supposed to do, man. And it wasn't difficult. We treat each other right. Y'all know the moral laws. So, there's even things about keeping the Sabbath and all that. I know y'all don't really subscribe to that. Not everybody on here does, and that's fine. But I'm just saying that everything that I read in that book, I don't look at it with a Christian mindset, because I know, you got to put works with faith. A lot of Christians say, oh, you just got to believe. That's BS. If you trust in something, you're going to work towards it. Okay. Then he'll open up the door. And there's also prophecies in there, right, that talk about us going through this BS. It talks about us. Is it harsh? Yes. Is it terrible? Yes. But those prophecies are in there.
Yeah, but God said he did it.
Well, he allowed it, yeah. But the thing is, though.
No, he did it. He said he wounds.
his whole goal is to have a remnant of people. Okay.
Right, and I just want to emphasize something. We don't fit those curses, brother. Like, we're not in the desert eating our children. We don't do that. You don't hear about our people eating their own children. You don't hear about that. Like, purposely just doing that, just wilding out.
Right.
You never heard of us doing it. There's a bunch of stuff in there that we don't fit, and then people will try to say, "Oh, I guess a curse about you being oppressed and this and that." There's people oppressed all over the place. There's people oppressed that oppress their own people. So we can't take these small little things and then try to force ourselves to fit in there.
Right, and I don't like the fact that people try to act like God is not sadistic. Like, look at all the things that he's saying in there about getting people to eat their own child and eat dung and all this craziness. Killing women, killing not virgins. Like, it's too much.
Do you guys embrace or prescribe to the other beings that were here on the planet, or no?
What other beings?
The beings that they call the Nephilim, or
show me them. Show me where they are.
No, that stuff is myth. That stuff is myth, brother.
Right.
Stuff is myth.
So those bones they find over there periodically.
You know that those beings are classified as other races and other species, right? Like Anunnaki and Homos and
yeah, that's what that's what they're referred to as by other groups. Yeah.
Right.
But
I haven't
you guys are saying that they don't exist, but
I'm gonna tell you this. Dealing with it, I'm gonna deal with it scholarly. I'm gonna tell you these things are cosmological concepts. This is cosmology and aspects of nature. That's what I'm gonna tell you, because especially when you're dealing with Sumer and Anunnaki, you're dealing with a cosmology.
Giant bones and all that. That's just cosmology. That's not dealing with an outside being come down. Because I did post this on the
now, for giant bones, right? I've seen dinosaur bones. I've seen megalodon bones. I've seen all kinds of giant bones. I have never, any museum, and a lot of them that I've been to, have seen a giant man bone.
Right. So that's what that's what I wanted to say, brother. When you see that, when you start to see articles like that, actually click the article and read the article. You'll see that it ain't talking about no giant man. When you see stuff on Facebook, you'll see, because this is what these Abrahamic brothers have a tendency of doing.
You're gonna see
They'll post something that's completely incorrect. Like, they'll just be purposely fallacious.
Right.
They'll post a picture and say African sold Israelites, and we know that's incorrect. And I'm not saying this towards you.
Just any picture they found off Google, no primary source. Just anybody they think look.
They'll just, this is what they'll do. We'll tell them to research, right, and study, and then they'll just go to Google and they'll just type in giant man bones. And of course, there's people out here who push this false information. So then you'll see things pop up talking about some giant man bones, and then you click it and there's no proof.
Right.
Yeah, well, them brothers be wilding out sometimes, but but the thing is, family, this is my thing on all this. It seems like to me, and I know somebody else has to see this too. They have to. That things are being hidden to discredit the scriptures. It's
where
it's like things.
What things are being hidden?
Like the things we just discussed about the giant bones, or
so you think?
How do we know it's?
I want to ask you something real quick.
Why would they tell us that and verify the Bible to be true? Why would they do that?
Nobody, brother. No mainstream person or an actual science lab came out and said this stuff. This is just people who just be perpetuating craziness.
Like, you thinking people are hiding stuff, but there's really nothing to hide. Like, we pretty much have access to all the information.
And this is the thing. I want to emphasize this too.
I'm like, why wouldn't?
Hold on. In reference to organisms, and I'm gonna call them organisms because we are organisms, right? I'm gonna break it down to just organisms. Organisms, if you subscribe to there being other organisms on other planets,
or another
we dealing with that. When we dealing with that, as far as probability, is there probably out there? Who knows? We don't know for sure, or we don't know that we know. We don't know for sure. But that doesn't really matter. That doesn't really matter when it comes to us. We need to be worried about us.
Right.
Because if these beings exist and you saying that they're here, they're not doing anything either. So they're not. I don't want no dealing with them either. And I'm not saying I subscribe to that because I don't subscribe to it. Do I completely throw it in the trash as far as just dealing with our universe and the simple fact that we haven't mapped out the entire universe? We haven't been to every single planet and stuff like that. So I'm not just going to throw it in the trash. What I'm going to say is if people spookify. There's nothing to be spooky about. If there are other organisms and other planets, then may it be, and not just an organism, but an actual anatomic organism.
It's nature. Leave it alone.
We are cognitive beings. So if we run into if there's other things like that on another planet, I mean, so be it. Blah blah blah. That doesn't prove the Bible, though. That doesn't prove myths and stuff like that.
Okay, I respect that opinion. I do. This is one of those things where things are about to start happening. They're happening now, and I know y'all heard the stories about, he coming back. I'm not saying that he coming back right away. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that.
I mean, this is the thing, brother. Like when I was dealing with our ancestors.
Okay.
Let me say this. My great-great-grandmother said that Jesus was coming. My great-great-grandfather said that Jesus was coming.
Mm-hmm.
My great-grandmother said that Jesus was coming. My great-grandfather said that Jesus was coming.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm pretty sure that before my great-great-grandmother, that her mother, which would be my great-great-great-grandmother, said that Jesus was coming.
Mm-hmm.
And her father said it. And ever since that first ancestor that was brutally beat and forced into one of these Abrahamic doctrines, I'm pretty sure that they thought the very same thing, because this became their vocabulary. This became their ethos, meaning their essence of thinking. So when we continuously say this thing is coming, that's a problem, because the truth in reality is that nothing, I don't care whose religion it is, nothing, even if there's a religion outside of Abrahamic religion saying something's coming, nothing's coming to save us.
Right,
There's
and that's the mindset everybody should have.
If I go along with what you just said, then I am signing off on, yes, something's coming. Yes, he'll be here soon.
So you're going to get lazy and you're going to consume yourself with the system and what the system has to offer, because your system is not doing something about the corruption. Because you're waiting.
That's what I'm saying. We have to get out of this mindset that something's coming, because mentally that's holding us back, and physically it would make us lazy.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to stop thinking something's coming to save us, because, like I emphasized, prior to this being forced on us, we didn't subscribe to something coming back to save us, because as African people, we were scientific. Yeah, we had our cultural concept, if you want to call it spirituality or whatever the case may have been, but we were scientific. We knew that when a person dies, they don't come back. We, in our cultural concepts, we did not subscribe to something outside of existence. We viewed existence as exactly what it is: existence. This is what it is: nature, self-sustaining. Me. Mm-hmm. I am also self-sustaining, and I am co-sustained by nature. I am nature, and nature is me. We didn't deal with people coming back, raising from the dead. We understood once the body's gone, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
So, what then do we say? We know when somebody dies, that's it. This person that you're referring to has died, as a claim. No, it don't exist. I know you don't agree that it don't exist, but we just dealing with truth. And so the truth don't need an agreement or a disagreement. Truth is going to be what it is. Reality, it is what it is. So why continuously self-manipulate ourselves and continuously say, this is coming back, that's coming? The Muslim think Allah's coming. The Mahdi or Muhammad or whatever the case may be. The Christian think Jesus Christ is coming back. The Hebrew think Yahushai and these gangsters and these 144 gangsters in the sky is going to come out and slaughter people. And Judaism think that Jesus is coming back as well. Minus the gangsters because they white folks, they little Jewish people, so they not really into the gangster thing, I guess. And then you got Catholics. They think that baby Jesus is coming back down, floating nice and gentle on a cloud. And going back to the Hebrews, they think that Jesus is coming back on a dang Nimbus cloud like Goku and going to come down here and slaughter people and gangsters.
Well, who think that?
Not you, but that's what these brothers be saying, man. That's what these brothers be saying.
Oh, you can be on a ship, but ain't no Nimbus cloud.
Here we go.
We're gonna be on ship.
Now we going to Elijah because it say in the book that Elijah got took up by a whirlwind. So people be saying that's an alien spaceship. They saying that Yahushua coming back with a spaceship like ET, and he going to destroy cities and all types of stuff. There's going to be fire and brimstone and chariots and Pegasus on there. So we know that this brother is
and you talking about a spaceship? Did you know that the government has spaceships? And they've been flying them around. Do you know that nothing? You know nothing can come into America's airspace.
Listen, science. This is what I'm saying. Our people are so behind in science that they don't understand how far science has got. They've gotten far, brother.
They got government saucers.
They understand aerodynamics and all of these different things. They know how to build stuff like that.
Right. Go look up Bloomberg. It's public information. Bloomberg, government saucers, and they fly them in the sky and trick you guys.
So you saying that you don't subscribe to Yahushua coming on a Nimbus cloud or Pegasus like Hercules with a bunch of...
No, just like, they say it's Christ coming on the White House. I know it ain't a freaking horse.
Because brothers have told me plenty of times that Yahushua, they said, matter of fact, they took it so far, they took it beyond saying that their God definitely exists. They said that Yahushua has me like the first name on the list to behead me when he gets here.
Well, those brothers really don't know how to talk to people, though. That's a different breed of people that are prescribed to this. They don't even really prescribe to like.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
They don't.
But listen though. The brothers is actually not crazy. They actually following the book exactly as it's planned.
Right.
Crazy to turn you into one of these Middle Eastern people from the Levant gangsters that was ransacking people.
Right.
The zealots. Yeah, I know you talking.
But really, all they be doing is taking women's money.
When I talk about those Habiros, these are the gangsters, zealots. They wild people. They come and they take.
Just to be able to take the woman's money and never go to work and all that.
This God, he had them go into a land and kill these people for no reason. They just said, "Oh, that's your land." So if it's this God's people's land, why wouldn't he just give them the land in the first place? Why would he allow people to establish themselves in that land and then tell his people, "Yo, go slaughter them, go get it, go be on some thug stuff. We about to hit a 187 with swords."
Well, that's funny. Those stories, brother, they were dealing with people that dealt wrongly or dealt an ill hand to Israel, or when it comes
wait. How did these people deal wrongly with Israel when the people that I'm talking about came before even the name Israel was spoken in that book?
Well, we know they weren't. They were called. Not Israel, Yasharel, but you talking about
these people? We dealing with Habiros. We dealing with these people are from Mesopotamia, Sumer. different things like that. That's modern day Iraq and Iran and stuff like that. That don't got nothing to do with Canaan. That ain't got nothing to do with that. What you call Israel. It don't got nothing to do with Palestine and none of that. So this guy sent his gangsters in there and slaughtered these people because he said this is the land of my people. So if this is the land of your people, you intended it to be that way, why wouldn't you just plant them there in the first place? Why did you allow people of Canaan to be settled up in there, chilling, and then you send your gangsters in there to behead people and be doing 187 with samurai swords?
Well, you there's something you're leaving out, brother. There's something you're leaving out. You know, when they went in there to settle down in that region, when Joshua went in there, the Israelites went in there. Well, we know they wasn't called that, but let's just say for craps and giggles, right? So we know what we're talking about. Yeah, Beatles, okay? Those people, you know, people think those, like I said, this goes back to the Nephilim thing too. This goes back to that. It lists those beings. And it's like different. It was like freaking a few different types of them beings in that area. But you know, that it says that in the book that they wasn't really. They weren't human. They weren't human like us, but they're human. They weren't no regular old Joe Blow. You know what I'm saying? But that's what's up.
I want to ask you a question. Does it say in your Bible that your God is a God of war?
Yes, it does.
And if you look in, there's different gods, and especially in the Middle East, that there's gods known to be gods of war, bloodshed, thieves, craziness, barbaric type of nature. Mm-hmm. So, brother, these are those people. Those are those people. These is, you know, the book is not real, but when you're dealing with it, when you're dealing with history and you're dealing with Habitus, these is thugs in the Middle East. These are your ancient Arab.
Could you explain to me the rule of thou shalt not kill?
The law pertaining to thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not murder. That's the more accurate translation of that. We know that killing, we know murder is wrong. When it comes to protecting family or something, if you got to do that, then you got to do that. You know, people confuse killing and murder like it's all one thing. There are instances when you have to kill, but murdering is just killing for no reason whatsoever at all. You know what I'm saying?
So if killing is against your Bible, murder is against the Bible. We don't want to say it's that much of a difference when we're dealing with your God, because murder is just it was intentful. You meant to do that, and killing is more so of you kill somebody, but it wasn't
protect your family.
It wasn't premeditated. It wasn't premeditated.
So how is killing a non-virgin?
If killing or murder is against your book, but your God is whispering in people's ear, a bunch of gangsters, and telling them to go slaughter people, what then do we say about this God?
Once again, there are certain other factors that go into that. You know, the nations that they were dealing with, some of them. Now, I'm not talking about.
They didn't have a run-in with these people in Canaan. They went there. He said, "They in your land. Go take that." Like you in the hood, and you see for instance, you see a real nice house. It's in the hood. They got a nice car, and then you whisper to your little hitman. You tell him, "Hey, yo, go get that for me."
Okay, but what about the part? Okay, what about the part when it said, like I said, I don't know if you subscribed to this, but I'm just going off of what it says. What about the part when they went in, they checked out the land, and then the spy came back and told Moshe what the business was? Like, these some really tall freaking beings over there. And we don't think.
Hold on. Say that again. What you said?
But you know, I don't want to go in the circles because that's dealing with like the Nephilim and the giants and all that. Because people think they were just regular people open, you know. But you know, that's the thing. We gotta kind of agree to disagree with that one, because it says in the scripture that those beings were there, right? But I know you guys don't really prescribe to that, you know. So that's the thing.
Let's say, for instance, that there were beings. So if they weren't human, you have to murder them. Even down there, they got villages, they got families, they got all kinds of stuff. So because they're not human, it's okay to just slaughter them.
Well, how can I explain this? I wonder, should I go there with? Okay, in order to explain that, I'm about to say this. Let's take the human body, for example, right? The human body has bacteria and viruses in it, right? Or, sometimes viruses come from the outside in, usually. Bacteria is already usually in the body, it could change it more. Viruses come from the outside in, they contaminate and replicate, right? They cause dis-ease in the body, correct? This principle applies to those beings. They're not really supposed to be here. Yes, most I knew they was gonna do some foolishness. They're not natural here on the earth because they do wicked things, drink blood, eat up all kinds of freaking cattle and all that, right? And they spread and they dominate. But they were holding that.
Hold on. I got a question. You said that they spread and dominate. Did y'all slaughter them? Hold on. Did the people in that book slaughter them, or did they slaughter those people in the book?
Well, when it comes to Joshua leading them in, they slaughtered them. After the second time, they get turned back.
Your phone's chipping.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
It's breaking up a little bit, but go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, the beings that they encountered, they had to slaughter them because they. I know it sounds gangster and messed up, but these beings weren't even really. They're not supposed to be on the earth inhabiting.
So your God. Your God's all-knowing. Hold on. He's all-knowing. He preordained it, which means technically he put them there, but they're not. But you say they're not supposed to be there, and then he puts them there just to slaughter them. That's what. That's logically. That's what's being said.
But they're not supposed to remain there because everything in the Old Testament deals with allegory.
So why?
Thank you.
Wait. What happened?
He just said it.
Oh boy.
Say it again so I can hear it. Say it again so I can hear it.
I said, I know something jumped over him right there. What I said was, I'm going to say this with that, brother. I know you got excited back there. Yes, the Old Testament scriptures are allegorical in nature, okay?
All right.
It does not mean that things didn't
Hold on, brother. Hold on.
Go ahead.
But it doesn't negate the facts or the truth of things actually taking place. We say allegory.
Okay. Just because Iraq is a real place doesn't mean you can make stories about Iraq that are real. Just because Iraq is a real place doesn't mean you can say, oh yeah, slug over there in Iraq and say it's a real thing. Just because you have a real place doesn't mean that the facts in that real place actually happen if they're in allegory.
Right. Just like I'm glad that you brought up Iraq, dealing with ancient Sumer. Just because a story that they spoke about that is allegory doesn't mean that it's real just because they said Sumer.
Right. It doesn't, okay, well, America's a real place. So everything that happened in America, like aliens, that didn't happen. There's no documentation stated. Just because you pointed out an actual fact doesn't mean it's facts around it.
Which brings me to my point in how when you study Sumer, you see where the story comes from, and then when you study it, you see how
Gilgamesh?
Yeah, well, all of them. Atrahasis, Gilgamesh, Sumer, all of those different myths and flood stories and stuff like that. Yeah, there's flood stories that predates those, but so you see where this stuff is taken from, and then it's remixed into another myth, in which people put their stamp on it as if they are the progenitor of the myth in general.
Okay, so how do you feel about Sumer? You know, that's one of the oldest fragments. How do you feel about that?
It's
Sumerian tablets and all that.
Yeah, it doesn't. We know for a fact that it doesn't predate the Nile Valley in Africa. So, that's pretty much that with that.
Okay, because the only thing I'm trying to like come to grips with is how can people, you know, like yourself, say just throw out all of these manuscripts as far as except, you know, but throw out pretty much everything.
There's no original. And when we was talking about earlier, when you referring to all these Dead Sea Scrolls and stuff like that, that stuff has been proven to be a forgery, as many of us already suspected about it. You know, due to what they said, how they found it, and all of these different things. And then at that, that's dealing with Second Temple Judaism. So it's dealing with, if you go there now to Palestine, you would be practicing that.
Okay. I got you, man. I got you. It's just hard for, not just hard for me. Within me,
and it's understandable, brother, because this stuff has been forced on us for a long time. Even, you know, I know we talk about the European, but when you're dealing with Islam, that enslaved us far before the European.
Christianity did too.
Even, you know, the way that we came about subscribing to Judaism, that was some trickery, foolery, because when you're dealing with the Jews, they was owning all of the trade routes that was going on during that time and stuff like that. So, you know, because these people had that down pat. They knew what they was doing with all that stuff. So when we understand all of that, right? Because I know I want to go back to something real quick. You emphasized it, and I kind of want to wrap this up too.
Right.
You emphasized earlier about circumcision and stuff like that. Plenty of people do that. So I'm assuming that you're dealing with the whole. Oh, do you see different little? You see different little things that emulate Hebrewism, I guess. A lot of these things don't talk about how even the women are circumcised in these West African cultures, in some of these West African cultures. And then if you just deal with, if all you're dealing with is circumcision, you might as well say that every people on this planet who do circumcision is these people. Because if that's the only stronghold that you have, then that would be it. And then people like to talk about the Igbos. Now the Igbos are they call themselves Jews and stuff like that. And then we know that those people was lying. It was about political reasons. And then we know how they even got into Judaism and stuff like that. We got the documentation on that. So it's like, at what point, or let me ask this,
Okay.
Once you go over it, deal with logic and all these things, and come to find out that you are, in fact, as I already know, a West and Central African, what then do you say?
The contention or the disagreement is that I'm disagreeing with being what's classified as a West African. I'm not disagreeing with that. But as you know, as a sister probably told you, and you probably dealt with it, Brother Bruce out there, we're saying that the original Hebrew or the Ivrit are people, and that's what we were saying, but he said they did it for political reasons. The Lemba, they were just doing it for political reasons. Well, I would like to see that article. I would like to read the heck out of that.
And then they also dealt with the people's DNA and everything. Come to find out, it was what they was claiming was incorrect. And then when you look into the when you look into the certain documentation that they got when they say that they went into the Congo, I guess they seen people practicing some type of Jew culture. You'll see that people like to skip over the part and understanding how it was these Portuguese Jews that came in there and they was teaching them this stuff. But
interesting. Well, folks, I'll tell you what. This has been a very enjoyable dialogue. Very enjoyable. I'm not one to shy away from conversation or dialogue at any given time or point. This is probably one of those situations where until I find out more to debunk what these other things that I've seen, I'll have to stay with my position, So, and that's fair. I wouldn't try to convert you guys or change you guys to whatever, or anything like that. So, but as far as the scriptures go, there's too much that has taken place in prophecy for me to just throw it out like that. So, that's where I'm at with it, And that's not because I serve colonizers God.
And another one bites the dust.
Judaism is Babylonian Talmudism. We weren't even dealing with that originally either. So, it doesn't negate the whole book though, because we didn't put the whole book out and other books that testify to that being created, and all of these cultures throughout the world that prescribe to a central creator, and or God, and God's to that too. It's just too much to just roll out and say that we have all the pieces. You know what I'm saying? That's why Neil deGrasse Tyson, astrophysicist, y'all know him. He's agnostic. He won't even say that there's no intelligent design. So that's all, folks.
He's lying. I'm gonna tell you that right now. He's lying.
He's lying. He said he's lying. He said that brother lying.
He believes in a creative force, which is still a form of a deity or a God. So all that shit he be talking about, whenever and listen, I'm gonna say this because let me tell you something. I respect you. You know what I'm saying? Because you are holding back a whole lot of shit. I can tell you, I can tell in your voice when it comes down to certain things, you ain't even speaking on it. And that. So I'm gonna just keep that to myself. But just like you just read between the things Neil deGrasse Tyson say, what he does, and how he explains things. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
In between, see, a person can just say some shit, but you gotta look at how they act, how they move, and how they speak. You see what I'm saying? Anyone can say they don't believe in this shit. Yeah, you studying science as if science is your God. You studying things outside of God, but you still creating it as if it's the same thing. So you gotta watch how people say and what they do and how they act. It's easy just to say some shit. But what are you doing to go about believing in what you're saying? And if I start going about believing in what you're saying differently, I'm gonna be like, bro, nope. I know what you're about.
So he BSing.
It's not that he's BSing. It's just that certain goals in a certain perspective of how science is perceived. Because he's been taught, like everyone else has been taught, that anything outside of science, it's just that. It's outside of it. And it's unexplainable. But I want to admit that outside of science is what he respects more than what he actually
Okay.
That's like if you're a person, brother, like you believe in God, you believe in the Abrahamic God. Once you come strolling down my lane dealing with natural science, natural selection and all of that, you have just disobeyed your God. That's a wrap. Once you come strolling down that lane, God is no longer plausible within science. It's not plausible. It don't exist.
Because it's outside of it. And it can't be explained. This is why you and people like Neil deGrasse Tyson respect it more than actual science. I don't mean this to you per se. I'm just saying people who have a deep faith and who have a deep belief. But the actual fact is, one connects and can explain others. When you separate it, that's why I keep saying, once you come out of that God concept and practice, that's fucked up. Because you losing out on the very aspect that can actually explain it. Or have a faith and belief in explaining it.
But remember, it'll take even more for him because he's dealing with the Abrahamic thing, and in Abrahamism, God, their concept is something foreign to us, and what they subscribe to is something outside of existence. In the original mind of the African, existence is it, and everything in existence is what we study.
But see, what he's not going to tell you is that he knows that. You know why? Because he just said that it's an allegory. So he knows that the deep science, that's his God, it's something he knows he can't explain, but he can because it's there. He knows that. The Abrahamic traditions constantly put gold and parables and hide books on purpose.
Right.
What science does is explain all the stuff that they hide and combine together. That's all it really does. But because those books are missing, and because they don't study those books, they say, "Oh, that's garbage. That don't make no sense." And God said this. Yeah, God said it, but we're trying to explain it to you that in science, it's real. But you don't have the other codes and the other algorithms to prove it to you because you've only been given a limited amount of books. And it's been given to you in allegory and in parable, as it is in Galatians.
Right. Okay. Interesting. You said something earlier.
Basically, for instance, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like this. When you're dealing with the other brothers that claim to be these people, and they say something like this. They say, "Oh, you believe in the Netzeru, right? Or you believe in Ra." Belief in the original African mind absolutely makes no sense.
Right, I agree.
It would make no sense. That word, in the context of that word, the nature of that word would make no sense. If you ask them, "Do you believe in Ra?" they will look at you crazy because Ra, the person, don't exist, but Ra, the natural the aspect of nature that it does, the sun, that exists.
Hold on, wait. Hold on. I want to clarify that.
Good.
I want to clarify that. Ra is not the sun. Ray is the sun.
I'm sorry, my fault, Ray. I'm gonna say Ray. My fault.
Right.
I was trying to keep it simple for the brother.
I know. Like Ra is.
I get that.
Ra. We're still talking about principles of aspects. Ra, form, which are those hands, the rays that come out of it. This is why there are two different aspects of Ray and Ra. People think they're the same, and they're not. They're absolutely not. But to you on what you're saying, they're not real things, but they are part of reality. The sun, You can't go to the sun, you can't feel the sun, but it's there, and you can feel the rays. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, right. From the sun, right.
But I was just emphasizing how if they was to ask if they ask them, do they believe in Ray, they would look at you crazy because they're gonna be like, that you don't see that up there, you don't see that. You don't see that. You can't feel that. You don't see the effects that it has.
Right. They did worship that
You
thing
can't
too.
believe
So.
in something that exists. It's there. But still
Right.
believe. That's right there. That's like saying, do you believe in air?
But anytime you're dealing with the Abrahamic systems, what they subscribe to is outside. It is external. When you're dealing with the original African mind, everything's internal. Everything's right here, in here.
It is. It's just that some people, especially in Abrahamic traditions, don't understand that it's been anthropomorphized in different forms to explain it to certain. Oh shit.
Well,
Yo.
That's what I mean about the certain aspects about it that has been anthropomorphized to the point to explain it to the youngin or to the people that don't know. And sometimes that's also in an allegory for it not explained to me. Because you have to be part of the community. Just like I couldn't shit on a Hebrew if I don't know what a Hebrew doctrine is. If I don't know what a Hebrew subscribes to, how can I say, oh, that's hocus pocus, bullshit nonsense of Yeshua and all that? I don't know what it is. I'd be dumb just coming to somebody's shit and trying to tell me shit is garbage.
Mm-hmm.
They explain it to me. If I live out the code, if I eat the food, they explain the language. I wear the clothes. And then if I understand it, then I can have a better understanding of what it is that I don't like and what I do like. And then I could combat it with things that may be good, what may be bad for it. You understand? But until you step into it, you can't speak on that. You understand what I'm saying?
yeah, I do. So pretty much you just draw from different aspects of you deconstruct religion for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
Deconstruct those things, take those things that are
Not conducive to our people.
Right.
That's the main thing. What is conducive to our people?
Okay, and then you use that, and then you throw away what's not productive for us, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Because I heard you, I brought this up earlier.
You breaking up, brother?
All right, hold on a second. All right, nope.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. Because I know you have earlier, and I don't know how much you subscribe to, but this is my biggest gripe, right?
Okay.
Christians, Jews, and Muslims. Muslims subscribe to each book, whether it's the Torah, the Bible, or the Quran, correct?
Right.
Now, here's my biggest gripe with Hebrew Israelites, and I don't understand it. I've gotten a few answers. Maybe you can explain it to me. I want to know why Hebrew Israelites don't take things out the book that describe to their people. So, for instance, Jews take things out of the Torah and make it Talmud. Christians take things out of the Bible, things out of the original Torah, and call it the Bible. In the Quran, they take out part of the Quran and call it a surah. So I want to know how come Hebrew Israelites don't do how other people that are winning and take out what subscribes to them and then make their own.
That's a good doggone question, brother. That's a good doggone question, man. I don't even know why, you know what I'm saying, but, you know.
Because it seems like if Hasidics take shit out the Torah with the
Oh, I got an answer.
Talmud as their book, identification, all it, they winning. If people in Islam take parts of the Quran and call it certain portions of it and call it the Surah and follow that and have not focused for and they in my community and they winning, how they able to do it? And the Christian can make a church every fucking 2 steps from the Bible, from the actual Pentateuch, and make a Bible out of it. And they got a damn church at every goddamn corner, and they winning, and they're from Catholicism and they're from Judaism. How come the Hebrew Israelites don't do the same thing? Take what's conducive to Hebrews, put it out, make your own book, make your own language, make your own section, and do your own thing. I don't understand why I just don't do that.
Well, that's that's a good. Not spoke too soon. I do have some input on that. I don't know if it'd be satisfactory, but
Go ahead, brother.
Christians, they claim to use the whole Bible, right? But they don't. They typically use the Brit Hadashah or the New Testament, and they tell some stories from the Torah and the prophets, right? That's how they get down. Because I was one, I know. And as far as the others, they do the same thing. They take certain things out of the books and make their own book, like some Hebrew Israelites, or some professing his walk, his faith, whatever. They don't even prescribe. They do like what the Jewish people do. The Jewish people, a lot of them don't even deal with the New Testament at all. Most of them don't. That they don't deal with it at all.
Right.
But the thing is, for me dealing with both sides, we're supposed to deal with both. Those that's professing the book, right? The whole book. We're supposed to deal with both. And instead of labeling it and extracting, all the things have to be broken down to the base language, which we know I don't speak Hebrew. And all we got is a Strong's Concordance and that's all we got to work with that, unless you want to let's end up learning Hebrew, which I probably will. But the thing is using the book holistically, no matter what is labeled. Different Abrahamic religions dissect both sides, and you take stuff out of it. The goal is to use the whole thing, and prescribe to the whole thing, because it's all this beefing going on. My religion, my Abrahamic religion, like right, yours not. We got the Quran over here with the Muslims, Ishmael, and all, and the men of the East. It's like, well, how can we just combine all of it and make sense out of all? For those that I'm not talking about you, Jeremiah. I know you don't subscribe to none. I'm not talking about you or sis. But how about we just use all of it and look at it from a practical standpoint? It seems like it's hard to do, though. It seems hard. It seems like it's
why not? Why make excuses and stuff for it, right? I see what the other brother's saying. I see what bro's saying, right? About if you're going to deal with it, how about you think about doing this, right? I got you. I got you on that. But my thing is, why not just throw it away and return back to our cultural concepts that we use that were conducive for our psychology, agriculture, sense of morality, science, math, and all of these different things, or if you're dealing with construction, masonry, whatever, and all of that, why not return back to our cultural concepts and just throw away the book that you guys, since now you admitted it's not real. You said it was allegory, if I'm correct.
I never said it wasn't real. I don't agree with that, but I just said that you can't have allegorical format. Things can't allude to allegory or be allegory and still, be in its, still exist as is. That's why
I said you shot us in the fence a little. I got you though, brother. Hey, listen. It's all respect, brother. But
listen on that one, because I knew it was he's going. I know where he's going though. I know where he's going though.
So why not just return back to our homegrown cultural concepts? And then look, check this out, right? Okay. I study our cultural concepts in Western Central Africa and all over Africa. And what I do is the things that I learn from it philosophically in these different things. Okay. I embody this information. Okay. I seek after that knowledge, and embodying this information, I evolve. Higher and higher and higher and higher. In my level of intelligence and different things like that, and it assists me. It assists me in my study of science and these different things. So why not go back to our foundational cultural concepts and then use that to kind of branch off and create your own cultural concept and evolve on that solid foundation from something that we know came from our people who had our best interests at heart, from the womb that we come from. Why not do that?
You know what, my man? There wouldn't be anything wrong with that if a person wants to do that. There wouldn't be nothing wrong with that. Mm-hmm. There wouldn't be nothing wrong with it. The only thing, I don't have any issue with that. It's just that what does it embody as far as morality and things like that? What does it embody? The thing is, I want to do some studies myself. I know I'm going to study more on African culture. I know I got to do that.
So do you know? So for instance, right? So for instance, a lot of people don't know this. I'm gonna throw this little jewel out there. A lot of people don't know one of the cultures that played a very pivotal role, very, very, very important role in computer technology is Ifa. You ever heard of like a binary
language, computer language,
binary codes.
Okay, I heard it. Yeah, it's all done with programming and things like that.
Right. So when you're dealing with IFA, you're dealing with quantum binary cosmology and different things like that.
Right. Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
So a lot of people don't know that these things attributed. For instance, when you're dealing with the evolution in human thinking, you go from environment, right? Because you're visualizing the environment, you're smelling it, you're touching it, all these different things. The environment will influence what we call your psychology. Then from the psychology, you get into the mythology, because you understand certain things, the aspects of nature, and then you use the mythology to anthropomorphize, like my brother was mentioning, personify it, whether it's something's ontological, terrestrial, or cosmological, and different things like that. And then you get into the philosophy. The philosophy comes right before the science and technology, and the philosophy is like that underlining. You understand the underlining factor of something, meaning you don't only know it, but you can peel it back, retrace it, see if it went wrong, and then you have a set of principles, these principles in nature and all these different things that are consistent, that you see is consistent. And it has to be on track, because if the environment isn't on track, the psychology that you develop from it, the mythology, if it doesn't run concurrent with the psychology, and then if the philosophy that you develop doesn't run concurrent with the mythology, and if the philosophy is off, then the science and technology will be off. So there are certain levels of development that we went through to get to this point dealing with science and technology. So the reason why it's important to return back to our original cultures is for things such as this, because we've seen how it's like we've been going in reverse and backwards in a wrong way. We haven't been doing some kofa, meaning to return, retrieve, and then you can move forward. We've been put in a counterclockwise type of thing mentally that is not leading us, is just leading us to more self-destruction. The things that have been forced on us were not given to us to assist us. That's not what it was given to us for. You know, as I mentioned earlier, Dr. John Henry Clark talked about this. Dr. Ben talked about this. You know what I'm saying? Neely Fuller and all, so on and so forth. These things have not been given to us to assist us mentally, physically, and all of these different things. It's been meant to keep us bound somewhere at a low mental level.
And you know what, brother? In regards to institutional religion, Christianity, Islam, what have you, I agree with you completely on that. You know, I'm not one of these brothers that's like throw out science. That's not me at all. You know, that's not me. I was just on my end. I'm like, you know what? Let's use science and let's use the other side, the spiritual side too. That's just me. I'm not gonna throw away science. I'm not gonna throw away spirituality because if our ancestors dealt with spirituality, I know they dealt with science too. I know they did, right? But they also dealt with spirituality too. So that's something that we just can't neglect and just throw in the trash, you know. Unless you're saying that, go ahead. That's it. Hello.
Go ahead, bro. We can hear you.
Okay. I was going to say that's really the problem. It's that we're not really doing what we were doing even as ancient. We had universities and it was taught the religion, the science, math, all of that in one fell swoop. You learned everything. It wasn't separated. This is my thing, right? This is what I try to explain people. I don't have a problem with religion. I got a problem with how people expel religion. All right. So, for instance, just stick to the Bible. Saying he went to school and learned math. That's all you did. You didn't learn science. You didn't learn biology. You didn't learn spelling. You didn't learn shit but math. That's what that book is. That book is just teaching you math. And it's like, what about science? What about the Quran? What about biology? That's the Torah. You're not even looking at the parts to put together. It's what it makes sense to you. It's learning math. You can't even read the goddamn words that are in math. If I give you a math problem, you can't even solve it, even though you ask a mathematician, because you know numbers.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Everything should be taught to you in one fell swoop, so it makes sense. Instead of just having to come up with your own perspective and reading it and forcing it on the others. You should be learning what others know and let others feed you. And now you work reciprocally with one another, rather than just, nigga, this is what the fuck it said. You gonna read it if I tell you to read it, because that's what it mean to me. What? That's my issue. You know.
You can gentlemen and sisters, y'all prescribe to more science or everything dealing with law and all of those.
I don't deal with that stuff, brother. I'm different type of
I deal with Moorish law. I'm a New York City sheriff, so I also deal with sovereignty and Moorish law and Moorish nation. So I know the laws.
Okay.
I've read some of the doctrine. I've read most of the 7 circles of Quran about Noble Ali, and I'm also following the Moorish doctrine. I don't subscribe to it. I follow it, but it's nothing that I can go around saying I'm a Moor and all like. I'm the most sovereign motherfucker there is.
question. So you just read those books to gain knowledge, pretty much, understanding and knowledge on certain things.
I read everything. I read KKK, neo-Nazi stuff, Hebrew Israelite stuff, Hebrew stuff, because all of y'all is different. When I thought everybody was the same, I read everything. I follow everyone's spiritual systems. I follow everyone's faith, everyone's belief.
That's interesting.
I don't do it for knowledge. I do it for life. I'm not the only person on the planet. I live with others.
Okay.
I'm God.
It's an interesting group, man. I've never seen a group like you guys. It's usually the Hotep. People subscribe to, Hotepism. I don't know that's a word. Then it's an Egyptian, going back to that philosophy, or it's for some people.
I got all of that. I follow ancient Kemetic, and I've been taught by ancient Kemetic masters, current masters. So
interesting. And I know Brother Jeremiah, he deals mainly with the five senses of science. He deals with science, Kemet. Right.
Huh? You said what?
7 senses. It's 7 senses. But
7 senses. Okay.
Yeah, I got you. And then there's you have indirect sensories as well, but nah, brother, I wouldn't even say I don't deal with Kemet. I don't deal with anything. The brother tell you I don't deal with anything.
Yeah, we're not. Well, me personally, and what I see out of most of the group, we're not just subscribed one thing in a box. People just see me dressed a certain way and assume I'm Muslim. You know what I'm saying? I don't
Right.
to be a Muslim.
Yeah, I just tell people I live and I evolve.
And I breathe.